So good afternoon, everyone. Warm welcome to this webinar. So just for those just joined just now, just a quick introduction about myself. I'm Jack Lee, the Regional Business Development Manager of Peel Southeast Asia. So today I'm going to spend about 1 hour to give you some update about the new EU machinery regulations. And for this webinar, if you have any questions, we will try to answer the most of them in the end of the section. So please be patient, and also please grab a cup of coffee or tea if you like, because we are going to talk more into the details of these new EU machinery regulations. Okay, without further ado, let's get ready, and changes are ahead. And I'm going to move to the next slide to talk about the agenda for this webinar. So I will give you a quick overview of the new machinery regulation first, about the publication, about the background information. Then next, I'm going to talk about procedural and organizational changes, and followed by some key technical changes in these new machinery regulations, and followed by how Peels can support you during this transition and also during the transformation of machinery safety and industrial security. And last but not least, I will provide you a quick summary of all the key takeaways for today's webinar. So I hope you can enjoy this webinar, and in the end, you can get some new information or new knowledge which you can use in your daily work, or you can use in the sooner future. Okay, let's move to the first topic about the publication of the new machinery regulation. So the new machinery regulation 2023-1230, it is a new regulation to replace the existing Machinery Directive 2006-42 EC. So for the moment, the full text has been published and available in all different major languages by EU Commission. And also in the new, there's going to be no further changes in the new regulation in terms of technical and functional aspects and the contents. And this new regulation, actually, it was already published in the EU official journey on June 29, 2023, which is about I think about 8 months back. And we need to take note of that is this regulation will have a transition period of 42 months, so 3 years plus, until its application becomes mandatory. So the mandatory date to implement this new regulation will be on January 20, 2027. And for the new regulation, there's no national transposing legislation is required. And also, we need to take note of the situation with the UK. And for the UK situation, it will remain open until maybe some update in the futures. So for the moment, mutual acceptance of CE mark and the UK CA mark are still in place. So for those who are not familiar with the UK CA mark, that is similar to CE mark, but for those machines are going to export to UK market, you need to have the UK CA mark in place. So for the new regulation, actually, you can get the source from the EU official website, and it is free for download. And also you can download in different language. And you can scan this QR code if you would like to download this new regulation. I will just give you a few seconds if you would like to scan this QR code and download these new regulations. And yeah, unfortunately, it's quite a lot of pages. It is 102 pages. Later, I will talk more into the details. So next, what does that mean? As you know, right, this new machinery regulation is going to replace the existing Machinery Directive. So what's the difference when it becomes a regulation instead of continue to use the name of directive? So in EU, the directives are valid in all EU member states, but must be transposed by different member states into their national laws. So that's additional step you need to do to do the transposition into the local laws. However, on the other hand, the EU regulations must be applied verbatim as national laws in all EU member states. So in this case, there is no option of national or regional amendments in the interpretations. And also the goal here is to reduce the divergences in the interpretation of the new machinery regulation in all the member states. So this is the key difference between the regulation and the directives. So basically, let's put it in another word. For regulations, you don't need to do any amendments. You have to follow exactly what is mentioned in the regulations for all the member states in EU. So what were the previous problems and how they were addressed in the new machinery regulations? So in this slide, I list down the 6 main problems and how they were addressed in the new machinery regulations. Problem 1, the machinery directive, the existing machinery directive, does not sufficiently cover the new risks originating from emerging technologies. For example, security and AI, artificial intelligence. Problem 2, legal uncertainty due to a lack of clarity on the scope and definition and possible safety gaps in traditional technologies. So in the new regulations, it gives more information, more definition of substantial modification and machine categories. So that is something we are going to talk about later. Problem 3, insufficient provision for high-risk machines. So in the new machinery regulations, there is segregation of high-risk machines into 2 different groups under Annex 1, Part A and Part B. We are also going to touch this part in details later, which is very important for machine manufacturer and also for the other players on machinery market. And problem 4 is mandatory and environmental causes due to extensive paper-based documentations. So the existing directive was published in 2006, which is almost 17 years ago or 18 years ago. And at that time, there's a requirement to have the paper-based documentation. But in the new machinery regulations, the digital instructions are now allowed to be used. Problem 5, inconsistencies with other pieces of union product safety legislation. So you can imagine during the past 17 or 18 years, there's a lot of new legislation published in EU. So in order to comply with and aligned with all the other legislations, the machinery directive need to be updated. So in the new machinery regulations, it has fully aligned with the new legislative framework, which is also called NLF. Later, I will also talk a little bit about this new legislative framework. And problem 6 is about divergences in interpretation due to transposition. So I already mentioned a little bit about this just now. So in the new regulations, we change the name and we turn this into a regulations. So without any loan or any gap for different member states to interpret of the new machinery regulations. And in this slide, I will just highlight some of the changes concerning structures in the new machinery regulations. So on the left side, you can see this is the existing EU machinery directive, and it only has the 63 pages compared to the new machinery regulation, which we have 102 pages. So there's a lot of more information provided in this regulation. And also in terms of the articles, so articles, it's almost also doubles. We have the 54 articles compared to 29 articles before. And another main change is about the arrangement of annexes. So annexes actually it is considered as an important part of the regulations. So actually start from page number 40 onwards. Just imagine page number 40 onwards are about the annex informations. So these information are also very important for us to understand better about what's the requirements. So the formal Annex 1 actually is deal with the essential health and the safety requirements, but now it is moved to Annex 3. So what has been changed is for the Annex 1 in the new regulations, it has become the machine categories, which was original in Annex 4 in the existing Machinery Directive. And of course, there's also a reason why they make this change. And also the Annex 2 is become safety components. So in the new regulation, actually, it would like to highlight something which is more important about machine categories and safety components before it comes to essential health and safety requirements. So it is also more clear in a way also for me to read through and also maybe for you to understand better how they structured the regulations. So I think this is a good improvement. And also later we are going to talk about what has been changed under these machine categories, Part A and Part B. And they are something new, and they are also something we would like to discuss later. Okay, next I will move to procedural and organizational changes. So these changes are important when it comes to new machinery regulations. So first of all, in the new regulations, there are some expansions of terminology and clarification, and as well as some new definition has been added in. So what's important is the term of the machinery. So machinery, in terms of the definition, it is still the same as before, but now this definition, it is actually under Article 3 of the new regulation. Previously, it was under Article 2 of the Machinery Directive. And also, in the new regulation, this word is frequently mentioned together with related products. So which means you will see something like machinery and with and related products, and also include interchangeable equipment, safety components, lifting accessories, chains, ropes, and the webbing, as well as removable chemical transition devices. So that's the definition of machinery you can find out under Article 3 of Machinery Regulation. And also now, the new regulation make it very clear that safety components can be a physical component or a digital and or combination components, as well as a software as a standalone product. So this is something has been modified in the new machinery regulations. Let's move to the next slide. In this slide is talk about the machines subject to inspection mandatory type examination. So in the new regulation, it has been intensified considerably. 6 different types of machines are subject to inspection by notified body. So with these 6 different machine types, machine manufacturers alone can no longer declare conformity in conjunction with a harmonized standards as was previously possible in the Machinery Directive. So that is one of the main changes in the machinery regulations. So the manufacturers, they have to engage third party, a notified body, to help them to do the inspection and the examination for the 6 machine types. So what are these 6 machine types? That is something related to just now about the Annex 1 Part A and Part B, and about the different type of machinery. So these 6 types of the machine are listed under Annex 1 Part 8. It talks about these 6 different types, removable the chemical transition devices, including layer guards. Second is the guards for removable the chemical transition devices, followed by vehicle servicing lifts, portable cartridge-operated fixing, and other impact machinery. But importantly, there are 2 new categories of machine. Now they put under Annex 1 Part 8 are which are related to which is related to the AI. So that is category 5 and 6. Safety components with fully or partially self-evolving behavior using machine learning approaches, ensuring safety functions. So this is a new category. And another category is machine that has embedded systems with fully or partially self-evolving behavior using machine learning approaches, ensuring safety functions that have not been placed independently on the market in respect only of those systems. So it's importantly for the machines which coming with artificial intelligence, these kind of components or these kind of embedded systems, now it is required to do the inspection or examination by notified body, and this will become mandatory in the future. So of course, the regulation has not changed considerably for remaining types of machine from former Annex 4, which are now under the Annex 1 Part B. So which means for the rest of machine categories listed in Part B, the machine manufacturer alone can still declare conformity with the machinery regulation in combination with a harmonized standards with the aid of internal production control. So that is something still remain the same as before. And the next, I'm going to touch a bit about the CE marking process alignments and harmonization. So as you know, or maybe as some of you know, right, for CE marking process, this is also very important requirement under existing the machinery regulations, in the new machinery regulations, as well as the existing the Machinery Directive. So the overall CE marking process with the 6 steps remain the same. So on the left side, you can see the 6 steps. Step 1 is to define the legal framework, followed by define the requirements, then select conformity assessment procedures, conformity validation, followed by compile the technical file, and last but not least, affix CE mark on the machines. So these 6 steps remain the same. And also the machinery regulation has made some clarification and alignments in relation to each of these steps. So there's some more information provided. And the principles and the process are not synchronized to existing EU legislation and interpretations. So basically, this includes 3 main synchronized parts of the other EU legislations. The first one is about a comprehensive regulatory framework to operate effectively for the safety and the compliance of industrial products. So this is also known as the new legislative framework. In the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about this NLF. And also, now it is also give the interpretation in the Blue Guide on the implementation of EU product rules, as well as about the market surveillance and the compliance of products. So basically, they are trying to update the new machinery regulation to synchronize and align with the rest of the legislation and the regulation in EU as much as possible now. And in this slide, I'm going to talk about the conformity assessment procedure based on the modules of the new legislation framework. So all these modules, as you can see here, from module A to module H, these modules were already defined in NLF, and the new regulations, machinery regulation, took those on board, but without using 3 of the modules here, which is module D, E, and F. So these are not defined in the machinery regulations. And the reason we talk about this information is we would like to let you know better how we can choose the proper assessment procedures for the machine or the product you are going to be CE marked in the futures. So in details, for examples, you can see over here, for the machine category under the Part 8 in the new regulation Annex 1, you can choose the different procedures you like at the choice of the manufacturer. So the manufacturer, they can choose, for example, modules B and C. Module B is EU type examination, and where you need to engage a notified body. And C is about the internal control of productions. So you can choose these two as the procedures for this conformity assessment, or you can also choose module H or module G. So for module H is about full quality assurance. You also have to engage a notified body, certifies QS systems, or you can now also have the option. This is a new option add into the NLF and also in the machinery regulations about unit verification. And you can also choose these procedures, but again, you also need to engage with a notified body to verify conformity of each unit. So this is just an example. Then for type B, also you can follow the different procedures. So total there's 4 procedures you can follow. And also for the machine categories which are not listed in Annex 1, you can follow the module 8, which is design plus the internal control of production. But when it is under this module 8, actually you don't need to engage any notified body for this conformity assessment process. So this is some information I would like to share with you. Sorry, let's move back to this new slide about harmonized standards. So this is also important part, but also very tedious part, because all the current harmonized standards is based on the existing Machinery Directive. So which means they need to be reviewed to ensure harmonization is in line with the new regulations. So there's a lot of labor effort need to be spent in this case. And also existing announcement in European journal is not valid for the new regulations. So I have to follow all the new announcement. And it is not clear if the renewal process will be in time, as hundreds of harmonized standards need to be dealt with. So it's really the tremendous work need to do it if the authority would like to review all the harmonized standards and to put them in time when the new regulation become effective in 2027. And of course, in the regulation, it also gives you this kind of hints that the European Commission is entitled to provide transitional regulation if required. And also, you can find the source of all the harmonized standards listed in the official website of EU. If you would like to know more about all these harmonized standards, you can scan this QR code, and it will link you to the website and where you can find all the harmonized standards, which is several hundreds of the standards. And now I'm going to talk about something new. So this is something new defined in machinery regulation about substantial modification. So substantial modification could be a modification of machinery, eventually means a substantial modification if new hazards or higher risks are created, or the existing safety concept of the machine is not sufficient, or substantial modification can be software driven. So in the situation of A, B, C here, so if there's any new hazards, or if the existing risk is increasing to become a higher risk, in that case, it means a substantial modification. And in that case, of course, you will need to do the testing and you have to update the documentations of your machine. And also the existing safety concept is not sufficient. For example, you have to add in some new safety functions, some new safety components. And of course, this is something new now. Substantial modification can be software driven, which means in the past, we always talk about the physical change on the machines, but a significant modification now can also be result of a modification to the software alone. So in that case, it's also considered as a substantial modification. And actually, in the new regulation, Article 18, it also stipulate the legal consequences of substantial modification. So this is also a very important part. Talk about the obligation of the manufacturers or the integrators or the rest of the players. It is so the regulation is stipulated that the person who substantially modify a machine must fulfill the obligation of manufacturer. So the regulation make this part clear about the obligations. And of course, the existing documentation should remain valid for the parts of machinery that are not affected by the substantial modification. So this is also to reduce the burden of the manufacturers. If they would like to do some modification on the machines, you still can use back some of the existing documents, and also you don't need to repeat to do the testing of the unmodified part of the machine. Next, I would like to talk a little bit about authorized representative. So this is also an important player in terms of the CE mark process. And an authorized representative, it could be a person or legal entity, may represent the manufacturer in the European market. And this AR role has been redefined with a more limited scope in the new regulations. So the AR role still includes the provision of documents, for example, machine regulation, for example, the machine documentations, the DOC, etc. However, now the AR are not responsible for producing it or for its accuracy. And also, the AR are not responsible for compliance with the essential health and safety requirements. That responsibilities remains with the actual machine manufacturer. And also any other design-related work also cannot be performed by the AR. So this is some modification about some clarification about the role of AR, authorized representative. In the next slide, this is something totally new defined in the regulation about the duties for distributors and importers. So it is also the first time we make it clear in the regulations what's the duties for distributors and importers, because they are actually very important players for the machine safety market. The machinery regulations details in much more details the obligation of economic operators. So this is a very broad term actually for economic operators, and it refers to individuals, companies, or entities involved in economic activities such as production, distribution, exchange, or consumption of goods or service. So economic operators, it can include manufacturers, wholesalers, retailers, importers, exporters, and also the various players in the supply chain. So next is about the duty of the distributor and importers are way more involved in the machinery safety process as before. So why I say so? The distributors and the importers, they need to provide access to all the technical documentation and cooperate with authorities, and also trace the product on the market. So which means you need to take more responsibility when you would like to import the machine or you want to sell the machines in European market. And also the distributor and the importer, they need to inform the national authorities of the member states in case there's any non-compliance or there's any correction action need to be taken on the machines or the product they in place in the European market. So they have to inform their authorities where they make this machine or related product available on the market, whether it is in Germany or it is in another member states. So next, I'm going to talk about the key technical changes. So these are very interesting topics we are going to talk about in the next few minutes. First is about emerging digital technologies. So these are new features of the machinery regulations. The AI is not specified by name in the regulation, but it is clear and recognizably included in the machinery regulations. So you will not see this AI, this word or this term in the regulation directly, but you will see something like fully or partially evolving behavior, machine learning, varying levels of autonomy. So this kind of words, which means it is related to AI. And what's more, under the Annex 3, we also provide some update information that the risk assessment and risk reduction must include hazards that may be generated during the life cycle of the machinery and that are foreseeable as an intended evolution of its fully or partially autonomous properties. So in other words, it means that if you have anything related to the AI on the machinery, which could result on hazards to the peoples, to the machine itself, it need to be considered in the risk assessment and the risk reduction in the futures. So this is a totally new definition and the concept. And the next is also something new about protection against corruption. So there's a requirement now in the regulation. Machinery should collect evidence of an intervention. So this intervention could be legal or illegal in the software, or a modification of the software installed on the machinery product or its configuration. And this evidence, which you collect, need to be stored at least for 1 year. So this is the new requirement, as well as requirements for safety and the reliability of control systems. So in the regulation, it also mentioned it can withstand malicious attempts from third parties, should not lead to hazardous situation, should be protected against accidentally or intentional corruptions. So this is something new requirements in terms of safety and the reliability of control system. As such, industrial security, so this is also a new term, becomes an essential part of the machinery regulation. However, further more details through harmonized standards are also required. So for everyone to understand better how they need to comply with these requirements. And the next, I'm going to talk about machine safety and the industrial security, about the different protection functions. But for machinery safety, it means to protect your staff from the hazards or hazardous movement of the machines. On the other hand, for security, it means protect your machine and data from manipulation and unauthorized access. So both are equivalent important now, and also we have to look into different aspects when you design the machine. And in this slide is talk about the transformation of machinery safety and industrial security. So let us read key regulation and directive when it comes to machinery safety and industrial security. So first is the topic of the day about machinery regulation, and also they give all the detailed requirement for machinery. It talk about protection against corruption, and this is a new concept, and also focus on machinery safety functions. But we also have to look into another two legislations. The first one is Network and Information Systems NIS2. So it was published on 27th of December 2022, and it mainly addressed about the measures to manage cybersecurity risk, compliance with technical and organizational measures, and incident reporting obligations. So this directive, NIS2, is the European-wide legislation on cybersecurity, so which is the most important law in terms of cybersecurity in European market. And another act is Cyber Resilience Act, CR8. So this act, the first draft is available from September 2022, and it talks about manufacturer obligation for products with digital elements. So you need to have secure development lifecycle process. You need to have EU type examination for critical products. You need to report vulnerabilities and providing security updates. And this new act, at the moment, it is already reached political agreement in the European Commission as of the 1st December 2023. But this agreement now must receive formal approval by European Parliament and the Council before it can become enforced. But this again will also become a very important legislation in Europe. So next, I'm going to talk about some of the modification and some of the new definitions in the regulations, which I think is important. So safety function are defined in the new machinery regulation for the first time. So which means in the existing directive, it does not talk about what's safety function, but of course it will mention about safety function under the definition of machinery. But in the new regulation, it makes it very clear about the definition of safety function. It means a function that serves to fulfill a protective measures designed to eliminate, or if that is not possible, to reduce a risk, which if it fails could result in an increase of that risk. So it's a bit odd, but that is something they would like to let you know better. It is a function to fulfill all these kind of features. And also there's another new applications for economic operators. Just now I also elaborate a little bit about what's the economic operators. So in terms of the applications, when deemed appropriated with regard to the risks presented by machinery or related products, manufacturer should, in order to protect the health and safety of user, carry out sample testing of machinery or related products made available on the market and investigate their result. So this is a new application of economic operators. Then what's more, he also detailed what's the application of importers, of distributors, and of course, what's the application of the machine manufacturers. And also there's some modification about essential health and safety requirements. So highlight in bold is those are newly added into the new regulations. So machinery or related product should be designed and constructed in such a way that it is possible for the user, where applicable, to test the safety functions. The machinery or related product should be supplied with all the special equipment and accessories, and where appropriate, with the description of specific functional test procedures essential to enable it to be tested, adjusted, maintained, and used safely. So here it emphasizes about the testing of the safety function on the machines, which is very important, and also you have to describe about the specific testing procedures. So next, I'm going to talk a little bit about the digital instructions for the documentations. So finally, this is also the first time. So in the future, it will be possible to deliver machinery with digital instructions only. So, but of course, on the other hand, paper version to be provided on request, and it should be free of charge within the first month. And the EC declaration of conformity can also be provided in digital form now. Okay, and the partly completed machinery can be delivered with digital assembly instructions as well as with a digital declaration of incorporation. And also importantly, all these digital documents need to be kept available for 10 years. So it means you have to find a good place to keep all this digital format. Of course, it will be better to store all this information in the cloud. And next, I'm going to touch a little bit about the autonomous mobile machinery. So this is also something new about the supplementary essential health and safety requirements for this type of machinery. And autonomous mobile machinery are now specially mentioned in the Annex 3. For example, we talk about AGV, AMR, or this kind of machinery or product. And the need for a supervisory function specific to the autonomous mode is defined. So which means if you like to design or manufacture an autonomous vehicle, for example, you need to have the supervisory functions. And the safety function need to be performed independently of the supervisory function. And the area where autonomous mobile machinery is intended to work needs to be risk assessed. So risk assessment, again, is important when it comes into the place where all this AGV AMR is going to be running or going to be operated. You need to perform a proper risk assessment, or sometimes we call this facility risk assessment, before you place all the autonomous mobile machines in place. And also protective systems or devices in relation to traveling function need to be considered. And the failure in the steering system should not have an impact on the safety. So in the machinery regulation, actually, it consider this new type of machinery as important, and that's why it lists down all the key requirements, how you can design and manufacture, and also to use this kind of machinery in the EU market. Okay, next I'm going to talk about how PIUs can support youth during this transformation and also during the transition period of these new machinery regulations. Then, of course, as some of you knows, for PIUs, we can provide you from normative requirements to training service up to the product solutions. We can provide you comprehensive support efficiently embed machinery safety and industrial security in your processes as machine manufacturer, integrator, or end users. And also, we are your trusted partner and advisor in this transformation. And also, for PIUs, we provide a lot of international training portfolio for different level of knowledge, and from beginner to expert level on machinery safety, industry security standards, and regulations, as well as robotic products and solutions in automation and safety technologies. And what's more important is we always state of the art. Our portfolio for training actually has been updated from January 2024 by considering the changes of the machinery regulations. So here is just a list of some of the popular trainings which we have adapted to the machinery regulations. For example, about CE marking, about fundamental of machinery safety, about the AGV, about the certified machinery safety expert, as well as we have the new training course about certified expert for security in automation. So this is also targeted to the new requirement in the regulation about industrial security. If you would like to know more about our training, you can scan this QR code, or of course you can contact our office and to find out more information about the training we offer to you. So next is about consulting and engineering services. So we also provide an extensive service portfolio tailored to your safety needs. We have a professional team of dedicated safety experts to support you on the topic of machinery safety. We can support you on risk assessment, safety design, and also the final validation on your site, and even the CE mark, this kind of service we are able to provide for you. And also, we always update our portfolio to accommodate machinery regulation, especially for the CE related services. So we also going to use the new machinery regulation to support you. And what's coming soon is we are going to also have this industrial security consulting service as the requirement in the machinery regulations. So this will be also become available. And of course, importantly, we are able also to help you to provide the comprehensive and innovative safety product and automation product solutions for machinery safety, from sensors, wire relays, and the controllers up to automation systems. And as well as we also have the safety and the security solution now we have our first identification and access management systems. So this is also our innovative solutions, as well as we also have the security breach, etc. So if you'd like to find out more information about identification and access management, you can scan this QR code over here. And the next, I would like to make a quick summary of the key takeaway of this webinar today. Just would like to emphasize of some of the important changes and update in the regulations. So first, the application area of machinery regulation has not changed compared to the Machinery Directive. So the application areas includes machinery and not with the related products. And also there are some extensions of terminology and clarification. For example, like safety components, safety function, these are something new defined and something new update in the machinery regulations. As well as procedures, now it is aligned. So here the procedure refer to the conformity assessment procedures. Now it is aligned with other European legislation and also aligned with the new legislative framework. And also we talk about the different type of machines. So the 6 type of machine are mandatory type for examination and inspections. And also there's the rest of the machine types are under the Annex 1 Type B. They are not subject to inspection, but you can use the harmonized standards to do the self-declaration as before. And also in the new regulation, it also now includes so-called emerging digital technology, AI, and also industrial security aspects. And also in the new regulation, it has put a lot of focus on testing of safety function. First, it gives the definition. Then it also mentioned about the importance of testing of the safety function and also what's the testing procedures you need to follow, as well as to make it clear about the principle of substantial modification. Although this has been already established in some of the member states in the past, like in Germany, but this is the first time they make this clear in the regulation, and which all the member states need to follow, and also need to understand what's the application of manufacturer. And the last but not least is about the digital instructions are permissible not, and this is also a very important change in the regulations. Okay, so these are the key takeaway for the webinar today. So I think we still have 5 minutes now. I have a few more slides. The next slide actually is just to let some of you know about how to empower yourself. Of course, you can always contact our consultant if you know anyone, or you can always contact me if you would like to get some more informations. Of course, the additional information on machinery regulation is available on our website. So you can scan this QR code. Actually, the PILS will also issue a white paper about machinery regulation. You can find all the key changes inside this white paper. It is available, and you can scan this QR code. And also trying to get the benefit from us, from Hollis, the consulting, engineering, and training, and empower yourself for the upcoming changes. And last but not least, you can contact us at sales@pils.sg or salesthailand@pils.com if you are from Thailand. And last but not least, of course, I think we need to give some time for Q&A. And meanwhile, please help us to fill up this webinar, the feedback form. So this is in order to help us to improve our webinar, the quality, and also to understand better what's your needs in the futures. So thank you a lot for everyone for your time to join this webinar.